Nathan Judah. This is Mr. Liam Keane. We are in downtown Baltimore where we have a monument, a little mini monument to your man.
My guy,
Your
Mr. George
man,
Washington.
Mr. George Washington. Look, we couldn't bring you the post-match analysis last night, a few technical difficulties, so we thought we'd run through it today and also explain the rest of what's happening in the next couple of days as we look to board another flight back to Fort Lauderdale. But yeah, just really, you've had 12 hours now for it to sink in. What were your thoughts on the defeat last night?
Yeah, I think first off, it was a pretty decent performance from Wolves. Definitely the better side, without a doubt. Those chances early on that Guedes, who we've criticised but did pretty well, set up, and Rodrigo Gomez, the first one for certain he should have scored, but he gets in the areas, really intelligent runs and really impressive. So it was a good first half. Ultimately, a mistake means that Wolves 1-0 down at half time. They don't start the second half well, concede another one, silly goal really. I know Gary O'Neill's a bit frustrated at the manner in which those two goals were conceded. They recover to get a goal back and look like they're going to equalise and then concede on the break. So the last goal was sort of neither here nor there. But overall, it was a decent performance. For both games, West Ham and Palace, the performance, the fitness and injuries is more important than the result. And I think Gary would have got a lot out of that game last night.
Yeah, and look, we're not just focusing on the new boys because they're obviously ones to talk about, but they are starting to show and they are standing out in some of these games. Like Rodrigo Gomez, okay, he missed a couple of chances, but he's getting into those positions. We need people getting into the box late. That's what Wolves have lacked over the last couple of seasons, really. So that's a really encouraging sign. Pedro Lima had Tyreek Mitchell, one of the best left backs in the country, by the way, and very unlucky not to make the Euro squad. Absolutely on toast in that first half. It was an absolute pleasure to watch him. And then Jorgen Strand Larsen coming on in the second half. And yeah, he hasn't found the back of the net yet, but provided another assist, a lovely back heel for Santiago Bueno. And if he's not scoring goals, assists are almost as good, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's early days as well, and all three of them are having big inputs. Pedro Lima, we've spoken about him. You don't want to put too much pressure on the man, or the young lad rather, but he looks a good player, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he looks a good player. There's work to do.
Baller.
And I remember you saying in the press box, and a verbatim quote for you, you said he's got all the talent in the world, and I couldn't agree more. There's obviously bits to add to that and bits to improve. Of course there is. He's only just turned 18, coming from Brazil, but he looks a real good player. Rodrigo Gomez, 2 goals, as I say, should have got at least another one last night. Looking really good, and Larsen just adds a different dynamic, a different dimension to the way Wolves play going forward. I'd love him to get a goal, so that Leipzig game or Rayo Vallecano at Molineux would be ideal for him to get himself a goal, get himself up and running before the Premier League starts, but that hardly matters if he goes and scores at Arsenal on the first game of the season.
No, exactly. Look, I'm pretty confident that we will see him score a goal. Look, we move across, like I say, we fly back now. Friday we'll have the kit launch, the away kit launch, which we're looking forward to. And then Saturday, of course, like you say, that Leipzig game where will we start to see now certain players maybe feature a little bit more prominently and regularly in these last 2 games, where Gary O'Neill's starting to look at the starting lineup for him against Arsenal. Of course, we've got 4 players coming back as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note that Mosquera and Aït-Nouri didn't play at all last night. You expect them to start against Leipzig. Other players that did come on had limited minutes, like Lars and Lamina came on, only had I think 15-20 minutes in comparison to Hwang as well. So I would expect that it starts to now move towards a more natural starting 11. Now that could change with Arsenal depending on the fact that Arsenal are very good and it's difficult to go there. You might change back to a 5, but I think you start to naturally move towards that. The 4 lads that came back, Sarr, Semedo, Neto, João Gomez, obviously didn't play at all against Palace. They're expected to be involved against Leipzig, but I'd be surprised if any of them start. So that obviously limits the fact that you're not going to have your strongest 11 necessarily. But I think of the players available to start, you probably play your strongest 11 for probably 60 minutes, and you probably go there and try to start to put together a cohesive starting 11 that will start either Vallecano or Arsenal, bar 1 or 2 changes. And then Vallecano in particular, that last friendly, that should be your 11 that starts. They probably get 60-70 minutes. You make a few changes here and there. 1 or 2 of them maybe get 90 minutes. So I think you start to move towards that now. And Wolves are edging ever closer to the start of the Premier League season.
All right, better go. We've got to catch a quick flight. We'll see you tomorrow at the kit launch. So that'll be where our next video is.
I can't wait.
We'll see you then.